What's poppin', gamers? I'm here with Kiwi, and we are making a series where I will actually get good at drafting, hopefully, because Kiwi is the draft god, the infamous drafter, who's everyone is terrified of. So, Kiwi, who are you?
Hi, I've been playing Artifact since it came out, and believe it or not, I never stopped. There's been a lot of new people coming back into the scene recently, and so there's been some people asking for draft guides, and as well, you're back here, so we thought that was a good opportunity to do some lessons.
So what's this tier list you've been talking about?
Hyped made this list on Draw 2 with some other people, and the list is quite outdated at this point. It's been a year and the meta has shifted and such, but it's a really good idea for newer players just to get an idea of which cards are strong. One of the interesting things about Artifact is nearly every card is viable in draft. There is, if you go up at the top, there's the main cards list. We can also see heroes and items, and there are some other links around here for other learning resources if you're a keener.
Okay, so we're now gonna actually do a draft, but as Kiwi has taught me, it's good to have a plan, because now we can't just use the tier list to choose the best cards and the best heroes. Kiwi, how do I actually make a plan and strategy with the good cards?
One of the first strategies beginners employ is just they decide on a plan before they even begin their draft. So when you're learning, red and green are both very simple colors. They're straightforward, and their win conditions are pretty straightforward as well. So a newer player is going to just say, hey, I'm going to pick all the good red and green cards. I'm not going to look at any other colors. This having a plan is very important, and so this is not a bad strategy. It's not flexible. As you get a little bit better at Artifact, so say you're drafting red and green only, and you come across an Annihilate. Do you just skip it? Because Annihilate is one of the strongest cards. Or do you try and change your draft around it? Or say you come across a Lich, which is arguably the strongest, one of the strongest heroes. Do you adjust your strategy? So as you start to get a little bit better at Artifact, you'll go in with a plan and you'll adjust your strategy to fit what you're given. The goal of this series is to get to the point where you go in with no plan and your strategy only adjusts as you're given things. So one of the more advanced techniques is that for the first 3 packs, so for the first 36 picks, you will just take the best cards in whatever color, with maybe some synergies along the way, but you take them, and then after that you choose what your color path is going to be, and you finish rounding out your deck with the right numbers and the right curve. This takes many different factors into account and is quite complicated. So for now, we're just going to try for one of the earlier strategies of just having a solid plan and making a solid deck. The first level is having a plan. The intermediate level is having a plan and adjusting it with if you're given really good offers. And the last one is not having a plan and making the best deck given with what you're given.
So basically, you're as you get better playing, you also get more flexible, and that is the ultimate goal to end up on.
For sure. The strongest draft players are those that can employ a number of different styles in a flexible manner and change their game plan based on what they're given. Just in the drafting phase, not in play. This has nothing to do with play at all.
So what about items? Because right here, there's the Stonehold Pike and Obliterating Orb. Would you ever consider getting those? Or how do you know what items to pick?
In general, your main focus is cards before items. Usually the order is heroes are a priority, then cards, then items. Items are the lowest priority because the base items, the armor item isn't very good, but the cloak and the swords are fine. Most decks, one of the largest flaws that new players do is not itemizing properly. So we'll go into that at the end of the draft, but throughout the draft in general, we're not going to focus on items unless there isn't important cards to pick up.
Okay.
One of the exceptions to this is Stonehall Cloak is pretty strong. That's okay. And Blink, of course.
But that's people can also find in the tier list, right? What items that might be worth getting.
Yeah, the tier list is also there, and if you look at the tier list, it scales items. The highest tier of items is A tier, which is below the highest level of items. Sorry, of cards. So the top 2 tiers of cards are valued higher than the highest tier of items. So if we're making a plan, now is the time to make a plan. You're either making your plan before the first pack or on the first pack.
So I consider myself maybe on the intermediate level. I think I'm above beginner, but I'm definitely not on your level. So I usually prioritize green and black, and then if I get good blue, I will splash it, but I try to avoid red, because I feel like that's the most easiest for me to play. What do you think of that?
Many people avoid blue early, and I think that is fine. Blue has some strong elements, but is also much harder to employ and requires different types of decision making. So also arguably, probably not arguably, Jimmy is the weakest of the base heroes. All the other base heroes are fairly viable, and Keith less so, but both Debbie and Farvan are slightly above average heroes. And so if you have cards of equal strength in different colors, usually black and green are the safest picks.
Ooh, how good is Lycan?
Look at your tier list.
I really like Lycan. Oh, he's B? Or A, I mean?
He's the second best green hero. I really like Lycan too. Lycan can take over lanes by himself, and somewhat threaten AD pressure. Most heroes can't threaten a lane by themselves. The fact that he makes creeps trade twice and is pushing damage is just nice. Lycan's pretty good in draft. Legionnaire and Conscript are both good and have different strengths. It's also not wrong to take both creeps, but I think this is fine.
You told me once that for new players, avoiding blue early while still learning the game is good, and red and green, or green and black and green in general, is better for starting out. Do you think as a new player, should you be forcing it?
That's completely up to you. It is one method to go with, and it makes your decision making a lot easier in the draft phase.
I used to love home field advantage when I was a new player, but now I don't like it as much. What do you think of it?
I go back and forth on it as well. I'm not a huge fan of the card. I think it's upper end filler, but it has nice synergy. It's really strong against red. It's also cross lane, which is useful in draft. It can win games. It also pretty strong when you have red green because you will kill their stuff, so they'll have less bodies and more likely for the home field to hit stuff. So we'll just tidy up our deck as we go. Can safely throw out Juke if you want as well. So this pick is pretty straightforward. Stonehall Cloak is nice, but we still take cards over items, and these two cards are both really good cards. Oath and Disciple are both very top tier picks. They can take lanes very quickly. They can surprise, take 80s. They're both situational cards in that you can't just slam them down immediately, but they get better as the game goes longer. But Oath and Draft you can play at turn 1 sometimes and just win games off it. It's kind of a really dumb card.
Before we start, okay, I just have to ask, because you're an infamous rainbow drafter. Do you think 3 or 4 colors is necessary, or do you think 2 colors can be good too?
So in general, 2 color decks are going to be the strongest. They are the most consistent, and so you'll usually have colors. You'll have cards you can play in your color. However, because it's draft, most decks end up being 3 colors. 4 is definitely not ideal, and you rarely have enough cards in one color to get them. You very much have to force your picks, although then you get to play a lot more of the lower end cards and see how almost every card has utility in Artifact. Pick 2 colors that aren't blue, and that's a pretty safe bet.
Okay. So, what do we pick here then, you think?
You tell me.
I'm seeing Arm the Rebellion and Slay. But I might be biased because... What?
You might be biased because what?
Because I like green and black. And what do you think?
I also like green and black. I think those are the 2 strongest picks in the pack. Pretty straightforward.
So here, do I stay within my colors, or can I take other colors too?
So ideally we want to be open. We don't want to make an inflexible strategy right off the start. Unless, well, we don't want that.
Yeah.
So for now, we'll try and keep open, at least for a couple packs, and see how our strategy develops.
So I would maybe get Troll Soothsayer here, and I think Wool Martyr. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Okay, so here I think I would get these.
Yeah.
Luna! How good is Luna in draft?
Luna is quite good. I think she's a lot better if you have 2 blue instead of 1. She's also one of those cheesy characters that is insanely strong if you have 2 of them.
I'm a big fan of these 2.
If we go purely off the tier list, the Hellbear is definitely lower than Legionnaire or Disciple. We did say that we wanted to prioritize heroes over cards. However, we already have a blue hero and we don't have many blue cards to go with it. So if you take... So this is where some decision making comes in already, where you have to start deciding on your game plan, because there's viable cards in every color here. If you were to take the Luna, then you have to start forcing some more blue picks or prioritizing blue so that you get enough cards for 2 blue heroes. One of the weaknesses of Luna and Skywrath together is both their strong spell is on 6.
Yeah.
And so your curve doesn't work out so well.
Honestly, I think, because like you said, especially new players, but even intermediate players, avoiding blue is best for starters. Maybe for that reason and for what you said, we should avoid the Luna.
Okay. So the black cards are both strong. Legionnaire is a strong card. We have more cards in black, which means we're more likely to play black than red. And so I might consider taking double black in this case. Although I value Legionnaire higher than those.
You value this higher than both of these?
That's a good question, actually. If we go directly by the tier list, it would be Censor and Legionnaire. But I don't know. I think any of those are fine. It's up to you.
I think we can spread out for now. It's the second pack. Or the first pack, actually. No, second pack.
Do you like Disciple more than Tyler? Which one do you like more?
I don't know. I'm a big fan of the Tyler. I don't know, in Constructed at least, but in Draft maybe he's worse because you generally play for much longer. So 1 mana isn't going to make that much of a difference. What do you think of that?
That's hard. I think they're both... I think all of those cards are good. There isn't a wrong way to pick between those 3. It's more personal preference. Disciple is really strong in Draft.
Yeah.
It gives 80 pressure.
Yeah, that is true. But okay, I've always wondered about that, because I've noticed that happening, but why is going 80 more common in Draft than Constructed? Do you know?
I don't know if it is more common. It's just... It depends on what the lists are, right? Lots of lists have blue in them, so you're not going to be going 80. And the game plan of Constructed decks is a lot tighter. And they also have a lot more mobility with blinks in the deck. Whereas in Draft you don't, so you don't have as much choice when to move your heroes around.
So here I would just take a Gloaty Vandal and Remescue Blessing.
For sure. Those are straightforward. Veno's a nice hero always, but not with our game plan. We're not really focused on blue yet. It would be too early to take a second.
Do you think blue is generally a one-of color?
No, I think blue is much stronger as a 2-of. The exceptions are if you have Veno or Prelix.
I honestly have no clue how to draft red, but I'm assuming enough magic and sucker punch.
Okay. Those are fine. Both of those cards you kind of only want if you have multiple red. But this gives you the opening to run 2 red. Arcane Assault is maybe better than Sucker Punch, but you don't know if you're going blue, so I don't know. Either way is fine. I think going 2 red, it doesn't really matter. Any of those 3 is fairly viable. Even Poison Strike is fine here.
Okay, I'm just gonna go with this then.
Yeah. So first we're gonna tidy up our list a little bit. So from the top, right click on Crippling Blow. So this is just using the sideboard, and it's really important. It helps you keep your numbers a little closer and see your game plan a little bit more. So our plan is to keep all of the maybe cards in and all of the definitely not cards out. You can switch some of them back later, it's fine. So we'll kick out Lightning Strike. We'll leave all those blue ones there because they're all somewhat viable. All the black ones are good. We'll throw out Aphotic Shield.
Not Juke?
We're not going to play that no matter what. We can throw out Juke as well. And Martyr I usually throw out, but we'll just leave it there for now. So now you look at our 4 numbers for our colors, and we have a little bit better. Do you see what I mean? Where it says 3, 4, 8, 5?
Yep.
Yeah. So now we have a little bit better idea of what we have and what we can work with. We still don't really want to be in blue, but yeah. Okay, so now we look at the pack. What's the first things you see here? The first pack in each set is always the hardest one.
Yeah.
Because it's where your decision making is made.
Sniper is amazing. So the best cards I think are Thunderstorm and Arm, but Sniper is also maybe worth taking straight up.
For sure. So we said we're going to focus on heroes instead of cards. Sniper is one of the highest rated heroes, so Sniper is the easy pick. Thunderstorm is a really good card. However, if we're running blue, it's fairly similar to Mystic Flare. And also our 6th slot is already really busy there, which means that we can actually not focus on the Thunderstorm in this case, because we're also not sure that we're playing blue at all. So then your option is pretty obviously Arm. If we didn't want to play green, so scroll down a little, let's see what our green looks like. We kind of only have 2 really good green cards, but with another Arm, that's worth playing, and Arms go really well with farming. If you didn't have the Remusk and the Iron Rebellion, we could consider Goldmine here instead and looking towards 2 black.
I think Thunderstorm and Grunt, or Tower Barrage and Grunt.
I'm not personally a big fan of Grunt. If we
Really?
have multiple black for sure, then maybe a bit more. I think taking Thunderstorm plus Tower Barrage puts us in a better position for blue, and then we have enough cards that we can start looking at 2 blue. But then we only have 1 red card right now, really, which means we're kind of moving away from red.
Man, what do you do? I think the obvious answer is Slay in Assassin's Shadow, but Altar of the Mad Moon, even when I don't have Prelix or something, I still really like it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think people undervalue Altar. I really like to have 1. I think it's like the top tier of green filler cards. Having 1, even if you have no deep portals, still feels pretty okay. Having it with 2 Armed Rebellions also feels pretty good. It's possible that it's better than Shadow here. I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
I don't think so, but just because our Sniper is on our 7th slot. And so if you're running only 1 black, then the Shadow isn't going to make it. You also have a Slay already, so you could skip the Slay and go Alter Assassin Shadow.
Do you think Slay is a one-of?
No, like Slay is pretty good. It depends on what your deck is as well. The thing about Slay is it's a situational card. You're rarely ever going to play Slay on curve, and so you kind of want it late game, and it kind of clogs up your hand. I go back and forth on Slay. Like, it's definitely a strong card, and it's a lot stronger if you have Sorla or Debbie that are hitting towers, because you can use it early just to get face damage in. And so Slay is never a bad card, but it's just sometimes situational. And if you have more than 2 colors, you want as few situational cards in your hand as possible. Any 2 of those 3 picks is correct.
I think I'm feeling Assassin's Shadow and Slay. I think I'm more likely to run Slay than Alter.
I think so too.
I think green is gonna be our splash, maybe.
That's what it's looking like to me right now as well. So now looking at our numbers, it looks like we're going to have 1 green and 2 black for sure. And then we're still not sure what we're doing other than that.
If we take the Zeus,
probably 2 blue. Yeah, so this is what I was saying. You want to have 2 blue heroes if you're going to play 2 blue. However, passing Spring the Trap feels pretty bad. So this is where you decide what you're doing, but you kind of already decided that earlier, right? That you were going to play blue.
What about one of your infamous rainbow decks?
We are not starting with a rainbow.
No, I kind of want out of red.
I don't think this choice is good enough to rainbow. Legion Standard Bearer and Spring the Trap are some of the highest rated draft cards. They're really good, but I don't think they fit in your plan here.
Yeah, agreed.
I think Zeus Skyrath is a really strong combination.
How highly do you value Trebuchet?
One of the lowest. It almost never makes it in any of my decks.
Huh. What about Foresight?
So we are looking for a few more blue cards. Our Better Late Than Never is not particularly good. Like, that's filler. Rookeries I really like, but you can also get away with 1. I think this is Foresight. There's some thought for it to be Grazing Shot. Blink is one of the items that you pick over cards in draft because it's sort of like a TP. Like, mobility is really strong in draft because it's so hard to come across.
I really like Maul and Plate 2 here.
They're both good, and you have a gold mine. So now our payday looks a lot better. Like, Legion is nice. Legion is enough reason for me to consider rainbowing in some cases, but we're not going to complicate things right now. And I don't think this is a good draft for it. Bolt is really nice because something your deck lacks is Finisher. You have a lot of control with Assassinate, with Sky, with Zeus. You have tons of control, but our only tower damage is Debbie, really. Right? The Shadow and the Vandals are going to help. Gank is pretty good, but it's not amazing with squishy heroes like Sniper Debbie. It's still worth playing, I think. It's cross lane, which is just really...
How highly do you value cloaks?
Stonehall Cloak is probably the highest rated item.
Would you get it over gank?
Let's see our items. So the thing is, you have 0 cloaks, which means you're going to be running 3 base cloaks, and you don't ever really want to run 3 cloaks. You really want to run 4 minimum. 4 or 5 is ideal. You can throw out the Stonehall Pike, because actually we may end up playing that as a win condition. But I think gank is just better than Stonehall Cloak. Like, I think you just take gank, and you have bad cloaks.
Okay.
Cunning Plan and Tower Barrage are both nice, but they don't.
Oh, we got it anyways.
Yeah, and you got a Thunderstorm. Okay, do you ever want to play Wyvern instead of Debbie?
No, I don't think so. Do you?
Okay. If we're a new player and we're looking at the tier list, Wyvern is rated higher than Debbie.
Oh, really?
Do I play Wyvern over Debbie? Okay, so here's how I look at it. I look at them very similarly. Neither of them are particularly great. They're both slightly above average, maybe. But what else are you looking for? The only things you're looking for is a black hero and a green hero. And there's only 2 more picks left. So if you value Wyvern at all above Debbie, you would take Wyvern. I personally don't, and you said you don't like her either.
So we skip her.
So we skip her. So we like to build it one at a time. This just reiterates your game plan in your mind as you're building it. So we'll do one color at a time. So what's the easiest color to build? We'll start with green. So just at the top where it has color, click green. Okay. So then we add all our definitelys. So then we deselect green and go to black or blue. Forward charge is up to you, but we're already 1 over in green and 1. So to have an ideal curve, you want 8 cards of a color with each hero, or the hero plus 5. So green we have 9, which is fine, 1 over is okay. And black we have 17, which is 1 over, which is okay. We may have to go through and cut one of each of those, but we'll find out after we've put all our cards together.
Why do you like Rookery so much? Because I don't understand it.
Okay, part of Rookery is you get to choose all the trades. So for one, you can have your Debbie kill heroes when she's in front of creeps. You can, beside Farven, you can stack your Farven shield card every second creep, and then your creeps trade twice as well as enemy creeps, and you can also curve them to trade twice as well again. And so you can take a lane over with just Farven and a couple shields and creeps because you're trading very effectively, and trading effectively lets you set up good armed rebellions and stuff. If you're playing blue, the strength of blue is that it has removal. 1 Tower Barrage shuts down a lane that has 80 pressure with Disciple. So our top end is 1 Bolt and then Thunder Gods and Assassinates, which means I think you cut the Favor. If you had a pack or 2, I think I would play the Favor, but here it makes our curve uneven. So here you have room for Call the Reserves or another Rookery, or a Better Late Than Never if you want. Forward Charge is an okay finisher with Farven's, but it's a situational card and we're playing 3 colors, right? You only use it at the end. It's basically face damage, and you don't want things that don't help the board in your hand. So items is where many new players make mistakes, because so for us, our gold, we have relatively a lot of gold generation in this deck. You have 3 heroes that kill other heroes, being Zeus, Skyrath, and Sniper. They all will generate gold at some point in the game. As well as that, we have a gold mine. So we get to be a little bit greedier this game. So I just go from the bottom up, or whatever you can pick. I put the strong items in first, and then we'll counter base items. So Blink happens for sure. Stonehall Cloak for sure. Stonehall Plate for sure. We have really squishy heroes, so getting an early Stonehall Plate is important. We lack finishers, which means we probably need them all. Musket has synergy with Skyrath. I like the Musket here. And you can put in 3 base cloaks. And you have room for 1 more item. You do have gold generation, which means you could take the Aquila. Instead, you could take Stonehall Pike for face damage, because we don't really have finishers. Or you could take Broadsword. Any of those are fine.
I think I like Pike here.
I think playing Pike over Shortsword is actually greedy, usually, but in this case, I'm not sure. That one's maybe because we have some expensive items already, and a Shortsword is just better. It's important to have cheap weapons when you have blue heroes, because they have 3 attack, and you want them to have 4 attack, so they trade creeps sometimes. So this is an ideal item list. 4-1-4 is pretty ideal. Sometimes you can go 3-1-5 or 3-2-5. Sorry, 3-2-4.
Okay, so that's it for episode 1. In a week we will do a more intermediate video where we talk about the different colors and more in depth basically for intermediate players. So I hope this can help you maybe even join in the LHL lobbies. maybe do your first draft there. And I'll see you in a week. If you ever need any help with anything, Kiwi streams on Twitch, which is very educational and very, very nice to watch. So highly recommend.
People are welcome to come ask questions in Discord as well.
Yeah. So thank you so much for watching, and peace.
Bye.